situated into a, now we're recording. It's better to think of a growth mindset when we situate it in a real challenge or in a real life experience. And that's why before we start talking about the concept of growth mindset, I would like you to think briefly about what is your next big challenge? What is the next step that you are going to pursue, whether you're a student, whether you're a professional. It may be something career related. It may be a big exam, a big test that you're all studying to, or maybe it could be a personal challenge, such as, I don't know, I'm getting married, I'm having a child. So what is the next big challenges that is giving you butterflies in your stomach and that you're thinking, oh my God, am I going to be able to pursue that challenge? And when you think of it, I would like to invite you to reflect on what are your thoughts that are related to that challenge. Do you think that you're not going to be able to fulfill that challenge, to achieve that goal? And if so, why do you think so? Or do you think you are going to be able to accomplish that goal, but that is going to be difficult? And why do you think so? So think about your reactions when you think about that challenge that you're going to have. And thinking about those reactions is important because the way that you view your own capacity affects the way you deal with them. And that is the underlying theory of growth mindset that I know that you have been in touch with. And it's just a matter of how you face your challenges, ultimately. If you approach it believing that you can accomplish it, it actually increases your chances of accomplishing it, simply because you will face smaller barriers to it. You will be able to learn with the process and recover from failures. So that is if we can summarize growth mindset in one sentence, this is the one. The view you adopt for yourself can determine how you face the challenges that you have ahead. And the author of this phrase, this sentence, is Carol Dweck. She's a Stanford professor on psychology and education, and she has been studying growth mindset for the past, 20 years. And she has a really famous TED Talk, and I had planned to stream a bit of a small part of the TED Talk, but first I wanted to check if any of you have already seen that TED Talk. You can raise your hand if you have. Raise your virtual hand. Oh, okay. But yeah, the physical hand works as well. Thank you. Okay, so 3 of us, 4 of us. Okay, since 4 of us 5 of us have seen, I don't think I'm going to follow through with all of the video, but I can definitely leave the link for you all to check later. It's a really quick TED Talk. It's like 12 minutes. And in this TED Talk, she basically talks about the power of yet, and how kids that were receiving grades in which they said, not yet, you have not yet learned, adopted a very different perspective towards their learning than the kids that were receiving, say, an F or a C, because they understood the yet has the power of framing that learning as a process and not as a picture of who you are or your capabilities. So the main line of the TED Talk is the power of yet, and how framing it as a process, framing it as something that you are, some knowledge that you are pursuing, changes the way you deal with the problem, because you sort of accept that challenges are actually making you improve and not undermining your capabilities. It's not when you receive a worse grade, a grade that is not that good, or a grade that was not the one that you was expecting, that doesn't mean that you are a failure in yourself. It means that you are not yet ready for that challenge, but that is a process. And the provocation that Carol Dweck brings is, we are raising children, and we have been raised as children as people who are expected to be ready at all times. We are expected to receive only the better grades and to excel at anything that we do. But the truth is, we are never going to excel if we don't challenge ourselves. And if we are raised to think that failure is harmful for us, or that risks are putting us in a situation where we, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to pursue that, then we are never going to improve. We are never going to reach excellence. And shifting that mindset to think of learning as a process and as something that you will achieve when you make constant efforts and when you make a lot of mistakes, that changes everything about how you deal with your challenges and with your failures. So in a nutshell, what Carol Dweck talks about in the TED Talk is this difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The fixed mindset is the one that understands that all of my knowledge and all of my skills are innate. They are talents that I was either born with or not born with, and I can't develop those skills. And in the growth minds, on the other hand, the skills are cultivated through effort, and you are able to improve and get better in things that you want to get better if you put enough effort to it. And one of the most common misconceptions that I see around growth and fixed mindset is that you think that you're either one or another. And the fact is that we both adopt those fixed and growth mindsets in different areas of our lives and in different situations of our lives. For instance, I must confess that I am fixed mindset about my culinary skills. I don't cook at all. I know that I'm pretty bad at it, and I don't think I'm going to be able to change in that matter. And because I know of the theory of growth mindset, I know that if I put enough effort to it, I will be able to improve and maybe even host a dinner for my friends. But that has been something that we have to resignificate. We have to think over about our capabilities. It's really common for children to adopt growth mindset or fixed mindset when they are dealing with complex subjects in schools. Like, I'm not a numbers person. I'm never going to learn that because I'm not a numbers person. And the fact that you put that stamp on yourself as not a numbers person, that implicates that you are not going to put that much effort into improving yourself. And when you make that shift, when you say, yes, I may not have as much ease with that matter as my colleague, but I am able to learn. When you recognize that you are able to learn, that's when you stop trying to prove yourself or to validate that you already know that, and you start to face those numbers or those dishes as a learning opportunity. Like, I am going to try to make a different dish, a different meal that I wasn't used to, and I'll probably get it wrong the first time, or the first couple of times, but with time I am able to develop the necessary skills to actually cook for a group of friends. So the first brief of, are we good so far? Do we have any questions? Okay, I'm gonna guess no. So the first activity that I would like you to join me in is in this Slido. You can either scan the QR code with your phone, or you can go to slido.com and put that code on 863-207. And we are going to answer, when have I adopted a fixed mindset in my life? What are the situations in which I am thinking that I can't improve? I can't develop this skill. I just sent mine to check if it's. Oh, awesome. Gardening. Yes. When I lived with parents, that's so interesting. Chemistry. Yeah, that's extremely normal in our school years. Can you think of situations of current situations in which you may be adopting a fixed mindset? Sport activity. Yes, I definitely adopt a fixed mindset in sport activities. I'm like the worst. Yeah. It's really common for us to adopt a fixed mindset when we are facing a challenge that is high stakes, a test that is going to have a lot of implications for our lives. And the fact that we might not get it right the first time, it's a bummer. It's like, where do I go from here? And that's something that we have to struggle to get over and improve when we are making such tests. Playing board games. Oh, that's so interesting. I had never thought about it. You need to think a lot in playing board games. About dancing. Yeah, dancing alone in the dark, it's a strategy to maybe overcome your fixed mindset and learn by yourself. Quite interesting. So now let's move to the next question, which is, when it's the same link, I think it's just going to change for you the question. When have I adopted a growth mindset? In which situations I have already seen that I am able to improve and I have been able to improve myself? Language. Yes, we do need a growth mindset to learn languages, because we're most likely than not make a lot of mistakes before we get fluent at any language. Statistics as well, like especially for people who, like I mentioned, are the ones that say, I'm not good at math, I'm not a numbers person. It can get really hard to get to dive into the math of statistics. Communication skills, great. Studying English with Gleb. Yes, I hope Gleb is reading that. Yeah. Math in high school. That's so great to hear that you were able to overcome your fixed mindset. Knitting, singing, cooking. Oh, that's so awesome. Everything that is new for me. Yeah, exactly. And especially when you're facing something completely new, you feel like a failure in the first everything that you do, right? And you have to overcome that feeling to be able to grow. Programming. Yes. So interesting, because programming, you have to rely on many of background knowledge that you have for I don't know, math and language. And if you are not comfortable enough about those knowledges, it may be really hard. So yeah. Okay. So moving on with our session, how can we, since we know that it's not like I have a fixed mindset and that's it, or I have a growth mindset and that's it. How can we adopt more frequently a growth mindset? What strategies can we use? And you probably, by thinking about the situations in which you adopted a growth mindset, you can already think of a few of those opportunities. And to summarize, the characteristics of growth mindset is, first, it increases your motivation because you are more resilient to mistakes. And that means that you are not facing error as something, you're not facing errors as something that you cannot overcome, or as something that is stopping you from doing anything. You're thinking of errors as something that you can overcome to become better. And that brings a lot of resilience, because you know that, okay, I got it wrong the first time. Doesn't matter. That only means that I am able to learn from now on, that I'm not going to make that same mistake again. And that, when you think of errors as part of the process, you are more open to risks, and you are more open to accept challenges that were maybe too difficult for you in the first time that you've tried. When you are open to risks, and when you are thinking of errors as not something that labels you as a failure, or not something that's a permanent characteristic of your state, you are also more open to criticism and feedback, because you receive those feedbacks as opportunities to learn, as opportunities to, okay, so I have someone that is more experienced than I am, or someone that is seeing things that I am not seeing, that is giving me the gift of showing me that I could do that differently, or I could try that other way. So you are inherently more comfortable with receiving that sort of criticism, because it's not about you. It's not about your personality. It's about the process you are in learning that skill. And when you are open to that sort of feedback, you also have the ability to reflect upon your own learning and understand where you are in the process of learning. Am I ready to reach that level of excellence yet? Or maybe not, maybe I am able to reach this level, but I'm keeping my eyes on that next one, because I know that I have full capability of achieving that. So that is interesting. Someone said about sports activities. And even though I have a fixed mindset about sports, usually group sports, team sports, I don't think I can improve in that. I have been practicing yoga for some time, and the positions, the asanas that were too difficult for me when I first started are the ones that I am able to do now. And they are not yet the ones that I want to be able to do, but that's okay, because I know that the more I practice, the more I fall, because I fall a lot, the more I am growing in my practice. And that gives us, when you are able to overcome failure, when you are open to trying new challenges, open to receiving criticism, and open to reflecting upon your own process of learning, that gives you the ability to learn and improve. Otherwise, we would just get stuck with things that we think that we are good already. Oh, great question, Dimitri. Where is the line when criticism is a good and when criticism is only to criticize you? One of the things that I like to think about is that you should always unpack your feedbacks or the criticism that you receive. The first thing that you have to unpack is what is, even if the form that you received that feedback is not the ideal, or like you received in a situation that you were not expecting that, or you received that in a rude form that sometimes hurt your feelings. Looking pragmatically at it, is there something that I can extract from that piece of criticism? Is that something that I recognize? Is that something that is bothering me? And then when you unpack, you kind of say, yes, that part of the criticism may be about the person that gave me the criticism, and that is not my problem. That is with her. That is with him, her. But that part actually makes sense. That part actually I can apply to improve. So it's both basically about reflecting about the grounding of the criticism and whether or not that makes sense for you. So this is the first thing: unpack your criticism and try to isolate as much as you can the relationship you have with the person that you received, or whether or not you think that criticism is true. It doesn't matter. Try to look at it like I totally forgot a word, but try to look at it as a gift, and what can you get from that gift, even if you don't at first agree with it, or if you don't agree with the way that you receive that feedback. There is, though, you have to be conscious about people that might be doing that for your own good, or people that might not have the best intentions in mind. And when you are able to unpack that, when you are able to separate what is the intention or the relationship that you have with that person and the message that she's trying to convey to you, you can actually see value even with the worst, like the criticism that you say, that person just wants to hurt me. But if she's saying something to you that may be relevant for your growth, you can separate that and say the way that she's dealing with it, it's her problem. But the message that I receive, I can actually grow with that. So those are strategies of separating the person and the relationship that you have, and separating the form in which you receive the feedback, that it's the criticism, that it may have not been ideal, but even though there is an underlying message that could be important to you. I had a boss that used to say, it will only make sense in Portuguese because it was a rhyme, but if it hits you and it hurts, then you take because it's yours. You take it because it's yours. So especially when the criticism makes you pissed off, and I'm like, I'm not like that. I don't do that. That's not me. If it gives you that kind of reaction, then you should think about it, because something about that criticism really impacted you, and it may be something that you can elaborate on. But thank you for the question. Yes, love that. Keep them going. So in a more practical way, when you think about those characteristics of growth mindset, I brought here some sentences, like sentences that are typical of when we are adopting a fixed mindset. I'm not good at it. I failed the test. I'm not as good as my colleagues. And that's a really normal one when you're looking around and you're like, I'm so much worse than everyone in this room. And I won't even try. What's the point of trying if I know I'm going to fail? And if I don't succeed, I'm a failure. Those are sentences. Hi, Gleb, thank you for summarizing. I didn't mean that if it hurts, it's probably right. It means that if it hurts, there's probably something there that is right or that is affecting you. But yeah, it's definitely something that you should think about. So before I go on to the next slide, I wanted to try to write down what would be the growth mindset versions of those sentences. Pick one and try to make it a growth mindset sentence. What would it be? I'm not good at it if I am adopting a growth mindset.
I'm not good at it yet.
Great, yes. I'm not good at it yet. I'm in the process of getting good at it. Exactly. It's a great chance experience for me. Exactly. Especially the one, I'm not as good as my colleagues. I think that this is powerful, because sometimes when you think you are not as good as your colleagues, or not as good as someone else that is inspiring you, the tendency that we have is that we think bad about ourselves. You think I'm never going to be able to reach that level. But what you can think is, look how far I would be able to go. And look how much I have to learn from my peers. Look how much I have to learn before I get to that point. Yes, I haven't tried enough. Exactly. Exactly. If I don't succeed, that just means that I haven't tried enough. And I haven't gotten it wrong enough, because that's part of the process. Anyone else wants to try to build a new sentence? And why I think those sentences are so important? Because when you are talking about growth or fixed mindset, it's not something that you, okay, now I adopted a growth mindset. Now I see things differently. It's also a process of adopting a growth mindset. So when you have those sentences, you sort of have those cues that when you realize that, look, I'm saying that to myself. I'm thinking that I'm a failure because I got that wrong, or I'm thinking that I'm not as good as my colleagues. You already know that that's probably you adopting a fixed mindset in that moment. And then now that you have the tools to transform those sentences into a growth mindset through resilience, through acceptance to criticism and feedback, you can switch, you can turn on the wheels towards growth mindset real time, because that's a real time process. You have to keep aware of when you are adopting a fixed mindset and how you can change that whenever it's coming. So those are the sentences that I have transformed. You have some of them you have had the precise one, some others were even better than the ones that I have built, but that's it. I'm not good at it yet. I'm in the process of getting really good at it. I still have much to learn. I have so much to learn from these people, or I have so much to learn before I get that as good as these people. I will only improve if I try. And if I don't succeed, that the only thing that it means is that I'm still learning. It doesn't mean anything about my personal characteristics. It doesn't mean anything about my own capability. It just means I am in the process of learning. Think of how boring it would be if we already knew everything that we wanted. Knitting wouldn't be a challenge at all. Programming wouldn't be a challenge at all. And we need that challenge to keep us moving, to keep us curious, and to keep us trying to get better at it. So we first started out thinking about what does your mindset say about your next challenge, and what mindset are you adopting regarding your next challenge? And then I would like to finalize this workshop with a brief reflection on what have you learned from previous experience that can help you with your next challenge? Because that, when you think about your previous experiences and how they have enabled you to be where you are today, you actually can see perfectly how it is aligned, how it is a process of evolution, of personal evolution. And similarly, I would like you all to consider, what will you learn after you complete your next challenge, and how will that increase your toolbox of capabilities, of skills, of knowledge, and because that will also show you the way forward in that path of development. What are my next steps when I'm developing, and what other doors will that open for me if I develop my next big challenge will be to have a good grade in an English test, because that may be the situation for many of you here. What other doors will that open for me when I'm that confident with my English, or when I have that possibility of maybe applying to an university abroad, or maybe applying to a job that I want to pursue? So what sort of learning will you have? And it's not about the stamp. It's not about having, oh, I have that grade and that enables me to do everything. But it's about what you have learned to get that grade, and what challenges you have overcome to get to that grade. Oh, great, Dimitri. How to distinguish when people say not yet? Are there efforts, and when are excuses? I would like to start out by saying that everyone has an individual and really personal path of learning. So I wouldn't myself point out to other people and saying, you are just saying not yet because you are not trying hard enough, because we don't really know how hard people are trying. We don't really know efforts that may be simple for us, efforts that we may look, yeah, I can practice yoga 3 hours per day if I want to get better. If you're not practicing 3 hours a day, that means that you're not trying hard enough. That was an exaggeration, of course. But challenges that may be, efforts that may be really simple for you may not be simple for other people. So I wouldn't build that sort of comparison. I would, however, think of that to ourselves and really question where am I locating my efforts to improve? A lot of people do say that, yeah, no, I really want to get good at it. I really want to get good at, I don't know, painting, or I really want to get good at socializing. I want to get better at talking to people, but they are not really exposing themselves to the situations that will improve their practice. Because yes, social skills are also a skill that you develop. So when you think about yourself, you can question yourself and say, yes, I say that I want to get good at it, and I know that I can develop, but am I putting effort to it? Am I actually dedicating time? Because effort, it's basically time and focused practice. So am I actually dedicating the time that I need to develop that skill? If you are, for the example of socializing, am I actually going to events in which I can meet new people? Am I actually practicing having deep conversations with people in my social circles? Because if you're not, then you are just using the yet as an excuse, because the yet doesn't give you a date to do it, doesn't give you a goal, like I have to be good at it in that moment. And it's okay if you don't have time to dedicate to it yet, but it's important that you are aware of when you are going to, if you are really committed to the challenge, to the development that you are talking, that you at some point really dedicate the time and that effort that is needed to achieve excellence or development in anything. So yes, I'll be, that was pretty much the presentation that I have. I think we still have sort of 10 minutes to question and answers. And I am opening also Slido. If you guys want to ask questions anonymously, it may be more comfortable for some of you. So I will be receiving questions both here and in the Slido. It can be about other stuff as well. It doesn't need to be about growth mindset. Oh, you can also ask if there were examples or references that were not clear. Just tell me and I'll try to rephrase it or explain that.
And also, Nathalia, do you think we can ask people to unmute themselves and ask questions? Because I think it would be easier for some. Maybe Dmitry has questions or Daria.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so please feel free to unmute yourselves. Yeah. I have a conceptual question, while our colleagues are thinking about theirs. So do you think that if you are not given this information in the past, like when you were a child, do you think you can still change your mindset later on in life? I mean, I know the answer, but just in case, somebody doesn't.
Yes, definitely. The growth mindset itself answers it by saying that you can develop at any time in your life. And there is even a biologic explanation to it, which is the neuroplasticity. like the plasticity of the brain. Your brain is actually constantly evolving. Of course, we must say that our brain is way more flexible when we are children, and in the sense that those values or those perceptions that we are exposed to when we are children, they tend to be really, you sort of learn and absorb things easier when you are children, but that doesn't mean at all that we can't learn and that we can't change our mindset throughout our lives. It all depends on being aware of when we are adopting one or another, and being willing to change, being willing to, because we keep saying effort as a really theoretical thing, but the fact is that efforts are hard. I would much rather say watching Netflix and Squid Game rather than, I don't know, practicing my social skills and going out and talking to people or cooking. And in our daily lives, our tendency is not to go to the effort path, is going to the easiest path. And when you recognize that you are only going to improve if you put effort into it, that requires you to be constantly aware of, am I putting the effort that I am required to evolve in that? Or am I, like Dimitri said, am I using the not yet as an excuse to not evolve or to not be good at something? But yes, long answer to a short, specific question. We can change our mindsets at any point in our lives.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Can I ask one silly question, please?
Yeah, sure.
So, what do you think about the situation that? Wait a moment. So children are grown up by adults, and the way of thinking and the way of behaving of children are formed on the circle, in the circle of his or her family. So, and what was formed in the childhood is deeply influenced in the adult life. So do you think that the cat, sorry.
Oh, I have my own here.
Do you think that this theory of fixed mind and growth mind is worked on people that were influenced by maybe toxic family, or the family that had bad not correct psychological patterns? Does it work in such families?
Yeah, that is a great question, Dasha. It is actually even more important for the people who have been exposed to such fixed mindset or labels when they were children, to be exposed to this theory and to realize in which area those perceptions that they've had as a children, or those values that they have received as a children, in which areas they are blocking their development. It may be harder for those people to give up on those beliefs, because fundamentally it's a belief. When you have been educated to think that your grades matter way more than your effort, or when you are educated to think that if you don't get the certain grade, or if you don't go to that certain school, you are inferior to other people, those are experiences that are really formative, to the children's own belief of their own capability. And those are not easy to change. But if you are aware, if you are exposed to those theories, those scientific proofs that you can evolve, and if you are aware of when those beliefs are standing in the way of your development, yes, you can totally keep growing. The thing is that it may be harder for some people to switch the vector in your brain to think differently, because those are more deeply rooted in your views of the world. For people who have that deeply rooted views about themselves and about the growth process, it may be harder, yes, but it just takes more effort and more time to switch to that growth mindset. It doesn't mean that they will not be able to do it. It doesn't mean that it just means that it will take more consciousness on their side. But that's a really important question, and it gives us a lot of thought on how we should approach children differently, right?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. I have a question for you. What did you think was new, or what was an insight that you had during this workshop, if anything?
Everything was clear. Actually, I read the work of Dr. Webb, and it was cool to take part in this event, just to refresh the knowledge that I have read before. It was great.
Oh, that's awesome. It's
Thank
so
you.
great. It's a great book, right? I love it. The TED Talk is really, I find it hard to watch because she's like so mechanic, and but the book is great, and the TED Talk is great as well. It's just funny to watch.
I understood that dancing in the dark is okay. Yeah.
It's totally okay, as long as you're allowing yourself to do so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
romantic.
Right.
It's very romantic.
Well, you know, the way I see it, it's not very romantic, but in this specific case, I would like to ask everybody to again join me in thanking Nathalia for this workshop. Nathalia, it was amazing. Well, you know, the audience probably doesn't know yet how excellent this 1 hour, like 45 minutes, have been in their future lives, because growth mindset is incredible, just as incredible as you have been today. So let's clap. You can unmute yourself and say something or clap. Just use virtual hands for this. Yeah. Okay. Any final remarks today? Any other things for somebody to share? No.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Nathalia.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Nathalia.
Thank you
Thanks
all.
a lot.
It
So
has
this.
been lovely to meet you all, and thank you, Gleb, for the invitation. If I can just leave one final message, is think about your cues. Think about the sentences that you are saying yourself, because that is the easiest way to identify your mindset and when you can make the switch to a more process view of the process perspective. So yeah. Thank you so much. I really love to connect with you today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So it's not the final webinar in our series. Nathalia, this was incredible, and see you at our next events. Okay.
Yeah. See you when I go to Tom's core.
See you. This is
Other
helpful.
regions,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you all. Bye-bye.